What's up, New York Mets fans? Coming up on this episode of The Bat Cave, I will be talking Pete Alonso, the Mets lone all-star. I will also be talking all-star snubs. I'll be talking about Mets first half, and they look ahead to their second half of the season, and some predictions for the second half. What my thoughts are, what I foresee coming in the Mets second half. So that and much, much more. So I will be back in 50 seconds. Good morning, New York Mets Nation, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry, and you know what day it is. It's Hump Day. What? Hump Day. Yes, that's right. We are halfway there to the weekend. It is Hump Day. It is all downhill from here. Unless you're one of those poor suckers that got to work, like I did last weekend, it is downhill from here. All right. A sip of iced tea for the working man. Let's kick this shindig off. All right, so the All-Star game was last night. I'm not a big All-Star game kind of guy. I'll occasionally watch parts of it. I don't think I have ever sat down and watched a whole All-Star game. I just never... I don't know. It's never had the want to, really, to be honest. The home run derby is, one thing, but the All-Star game in itself, I've watched, if the Mets had a starter or a starting pitcher, or maybe a starting pitcher that wasn't starting the game off, but I'd check in just to see if he got in or if he was in yet or whatever. I don't know. I never really got into the All-Star game. But I mean, it is what it is. Same thing with the Pro Bowl. I've never really watched the Pro Bowl, the NHL All-Star game. Never really got into that either. I do like the skills competitions and stuff. For baseball, not a whole lot you can do, I guess, without risking in-season injury, because all the other, the NHL All-Star, that's halfway into the season. The NBA All-Star is halfway into the season. Football is the only All-Star game that takes place at the end of the season, and it's right before the Super Bowl. So whoever's playing in the Super Bowl can't be at the Pro Bowl. But anyway, I don't know what else you could do for skills competition in baseball to give it more eyes. I mean, I guess you could bunt contest or whatever. I think the Japanese do that. They make a point system up, for where you're dropping the bunt at, and where it rolls to or whatever. And if you look at NBA, they have your dunk contest, 3-point contest. The NFL, the quarterback challenge. I believe they have the quarterback challenge. They have the lineman challenge and stuff like that. Hockey, I do enjoy the NHL's skills competition that they put together for their All-Star weekend, or whatever you want to call it. The speed skating, the accuracy shooting, the goalie challenge, and stuff like that. But baseball, all you have is a home run derby. And like I said, I don't know what else you can do besides maybe a bunt competition. You can't really do can't do a fastest pitch competition, without risking blowing somebody's arm out. I don't know. I don't know what else. Maybe you could probably do the fastest, home to home to home, home to first, or home to third kind of competition. But even then, rounding the bases, you just never know. I don't know. Yeah, you can say about any sport really. So I don't know why baseball never really expanded on more events surrounding the All-Star game. There's the Futures game where they have the top minor leaguers, compete in the game and stuff like that. So there is that, but skills competition wise, there's nothing. There's nothing else besides the home run derby, and the home run derby does bring a ton of eyes. This year's home run derby winner was Teoscar Hernandez. The Mets did have a representative in the home run derby. It was Pete Alonso again, of course, and Pete kind of shit the bed this year. And I mean, his fault. He is the hitter, but also the fella that he had throwing BP for him, who threw BP for him, I think the second year he won it, wasn't really laying him out there all that great either. So Pete's up there taking pitches. You only get a certain amount of balls thrown to you, a certain amount of time limit and stuff, and it did not go well for Pete. And it just seems like the whole first half was kind of a up and down first half for him. I mean, technically it's well past the halfway point here. The Mets sitting at 49 or 46. What is that? That's 95 games, and about 14 games past the halfway point. So it is a little bit past the halfway point, but like I said, up and down for Pete. Being the Mets lone all-star, I know that irritated a lot of people. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Because I felt like Pete was undeserving. He wasn't the most deserving Met to be named an all-star. So there was that. I thought I was fine with it. I had no problem with it. I'm a big Pete fan. But I also recognize that Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo were just as deserving as Pete. I'm not going to say more deserving. All three of those guys had an up and down first half of the season, and all three of those guys, hit points in that first half where they were really, really good. And right now, heading into the All-Star break, Pete was not at that point where he's playing really, really good. He hasn't been playing terrible, but Lindor and Nimmo have been playing better than Pete Alonso, much better than Pete. So I get it, but I don't get the whininess about it. As a Mets fan, hearing from other podcasters, Mets podcasters, or other Mets fans or whatever, I don't get it. Instead of celebrating the All-Star, you're complaining about the All-Star, who it is, and who it should be. Again, I get it, but it's not how the cards fell, and it is what it is. Paul Spencer checking in. What's up, Paul? He says, "What's up, buddy?" Loser tonight was Ingrid Andrews, tops 2 all-time national anthem. Paul says, but to him, it falls on the MLB for allowing that to go on. Yeah, so she admitted she was drunk going out there to sing the national anthem, and so the All-Star game was what was it? It was last night, or was that Monday? Monday. That was the home run derby. Was Monday. She did the national anthem before the home run derby. That's what it was. And I was on my way home from my daughter's softball practice, which is about 55 minutes from my house. So usually we're listening to a baseball game, whether it's the Mets. My daughter's a Phillies fan, so if the Mets aren't on, I'll allow the Phillies talk in my truck. But since there's no baseball on besides the home run derby, we actually listen to home run derby, and we get into the truck. Her practice is over at 8 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock is when this poor soul was singing the national anthem. And I said to my daughter, "So what the hell is this?" Just listening to it, And it's like, and my daughter's laughing. She goes, maybe there's something wrong with her microphone. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know if she's trying to do it like in her signature type style or something to kind of set herself apart. I said, but it's falling flat. And here it turns out that she was drunk, and they knew she was drunk. But they still kind of, you know, scooted her on out there. So that's on that. That is on MLB. She's checked herself in the rehab, supposedly. I don't know if that's true or not true, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I don't even know who the hell she is. I've never heard of her. I think my wife said that she's a country music artist. It would make sense because they're in Texas, but I don't know. I have no idea. But bummer for her. But MLB gets a couple more eyes, I guess, on them. So that's a bonus for MLB. Joe checking in. He says, hey, Ken, Mets are looking good, much better than the anthem singer. Yes, the Mets are looking way better than the anthem singer. If you're going to grade it, you know, the Mets are sitting at an A, whereas the anthem singer is sitting at an F. Paul said top two worst all time. So, of course, when something like this happens, they always do replays of the worst anthems ever. And I don't think she was top two worst, but she was very close. You know, definitely top five. You know, they showed the Carl Lewis one. That Carl Lewis was really, really bad. Roseanne Barrs was really bad. Fergie, of course, Fergie was really bad. That was the NBA All-Star. Roseanne's was before a Dodgers or Padres game. I think it was Padres. For some reason, I'm thinking Padres. I could be wrong. But that was really bad. Carl Lewis, his was, I don't remember what his was. I don't know if it was baseball or if it was a Super Bowl or something like that. But it was a big event. It could have. I'm thinking about it. I feel like it was indoors, so it could be football or basketball, but I don't know. I'm not sure which one it was. And so his was probably all time worst. Carl Lewis. And there's this one lady at the, I'm not sure who she was. I never heard of her name either. She was singing at a NHL game. I don't know if it was Stanley Cup or if that was the All-Star game. Forgot the words. She left the rink, came back in with the with the lyrics, but as she stepped back out onto the ice, she fell. So it's kind of add insult to injury there, but yeah, so there's been worse, but it's definitely it jumped, it vaulted itself right into the top five. That poor lady Ingrid Andres or something, and whatever it is. But yeah, the Mets looking better. And I'll tell you what, Joe. My prediction for the Mets for this year, we're finished, around 500. I said between 82 to 85 wins, and they'll be in a playoff contention, and they're right on track to where I thought they would be. So good for them. They're there. They're on track. They're playing much, much better. We'll see if they can sustain that. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Paul says she's actually a good singer, 3-time Grammy winner. It's hard to imagine. So Paul said, hear me out on this. I mean, growing up in the 80s, hearing about all the exploits of Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Alcoholica, the whole name there, Ozzy Osbourne. These people went on stage annihilated, and still getting through performances. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, maybe because it's rock music, you don't really worry so much about the voice, but there were times where they were too drunk that they messed up and forgot lyrics or just didn't go out. They had to cancel shows. But I mean, you'd have to imagine there's plenty of times also where they nailed it still being drunk. So she's not ready for the rock and roll lifestyle, I guess. Paul says Carl Lewis, Roseanne, and Fergie. Roseanne was the Padres game. Carl Lewis, Bulls, Nets, NBA game. Okay. So I said I felt like Carl Lewis was an NBA game, but I wasn't 100% sure because I remember I could kind of see it in my head that I was indoors, but I wasn't 100% sure. All right. Cowboy Dave checking in. What's up, Dave? Happy birthday to Cowboy Dave, who just turned 65 the other day. So congratulations, Dave. You are AARP's eligible, eligible to retire. And his congratulations to his daughter, Faith, and her travel softball team. They're at Nationals. I think they finished fourth. They had a really good showing at Nationals. We leave for my daughter's Nationals starting Sunday, and games will be next Tuesday. So that'll be a lot of fun up in Connecticut. So maybe I'll make a stop by the old ESPN studios and pop on there, and they'll be lucky to have me. All right, so look at Pete Alonso's first half stats, or whatever you want to call it. You know, like I said, it's a little bit more than first half, but it is what it is. He hit 240, 19 home runs, 51 RBIs. The 19 home runs, 51 RBIs, a little bit low first half for Pete Alonso. 773 OPS, 319 on base percentage, a 454 slug, 21 doubles, 37 walks, 85 strikeouts. Again, the power numbers are down a little bit so far for Pete, but in the second half, he usually does. He usually hits a couple heaters. He usually hits a couple stretches where he just knocks the hell out of the ball. So I'm kind of pulling for that. I think most Mets fans are as well. And so you look at Lindor and Nimmo, you're comparing it to Pete. The two guys that were snubbed out of the All-Star. Lindor's hitting 253, 17 home runs, 52 RBI, 783 OPS, a 329 on base, a 454 slug. He has 18 stolen bases, 26 doubles, 36 walks, and 73 strikeouts. And the one thing that's really impressive about Lindor is he started the season off so really, really bad. He was hitting in the 3-hole, I believe. Second or third. I can't remember exactly where it was. I feel like it was a 3-hole. I felt like it was Nimmo, Marte, Lindor. No, it was Nimmo, Lindor, Marte, Alonso, I believe. And he was hitting under 200 for a good stretch there in the beginning. For him to finally break out. I talked about it on the show a bunch of times where he's a slow starter and he heats up as the season goes on. And we've seen it. They moved him to the number one spot in the lineup, leadoff, and he's been money in ever since. Brandon Nimmo, another guy, started off kind of slow. He had some decent power numbers early on, and that's continued. But now he's starting to get on base a lot more and hitting the ball to the gaps a lot more. But Nimmo's hitting 248, 815 OPS, 361 on base, a 454 slug, 8 stolen bases, 18 doubles, 49 walks, 97 strikeouts. A lot of those strikeouts came early in the season. I feel like he's striking out, it seems like 4 times a game. That's an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like. 16 home runs, 63 RBI, and 2 triples. So again, I get it. Why you want to call them snubs? They do have better numbers than Pete overall, comparable, but they're all close. So some saying that the reason Pete Alonso was in it was so that the MLB can get him into the home run derby. And Pete said the only way he would do the home run derby is if he was actually an all-star. So it is what it is. Say what you want. I don't know why you'd be pissed off about it. He's a Met. As of right now, he's a Met. Like I said, there's some podcasters out there, some other Mets fans that were pissed that Pete was an all-star. Get over it. I wanted Lindor to be an all-star. I wanted Nimmo to be an all-star as well. But I'm not going to sit here and bitch and moan about Pete Alonso being an all-star because he's undeserving. I think it's silly, being a Mets fan to bitch about a Mets player being an all-star because your favorite player wasn't an all-star, or somebody you thought was more deserving wasn't an all-star. You don't get a vote. Just appreciate the fact that they allow a player from to represent each team there. Because for some reason, even though the Mets are over 500 and in, right now sitting in a wild card spot, MLB felt like only one representative was enough for the Mets. So take it up with MLB. Be thankful we had an all-star instead of crying about it. Paul said, I did a Cowboys show drinking vodka after they lost, and it wasn't that bad. I still have a job here at Out of the Box Sports. It's still cashing those paychecks, Paul. Yes, you are. And we're glad to have you. You got to hit up. We got to get ourselves a vodka brand like sponsor or something, or maybe we should come up with our own vodka, Out of the Box Sports vodka. Out of the box vodka. It's perfect. It rolls right off the tongue. Eileen, hello, Eileen. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. I'm a little bit tired, and my mouth is dry. I'm a little bit annoyed with X right now, Twitter. If you're watching the show here, thank you very much. But when I create a stream, I add all these different platforms. I had my Facebook. I had Out of the Box Sports Facebook. I had Out of the Box Sports YouTube, my YouTube. I had Twitch, Out of the Box Sports Twitch. I had the Bat Cave on X. I'll add the Silver and Black Layer on X, and I'll add Out of the Box Sports on X as well. Well, I go live, and I'm informed that the Bat Cave on X and the Silver and Black Layer on X, in order to go live on those channels now, it needs to be a premium subscription. So I don't know when that changed. I must have missed something, but that sucks ass. That's a bunch of bullshit, but it is what it is. Elon Musk can suck it. There we go. So last night's All-Star game, give you the final. It was 5-3. The American League won. I did watch the first couple innings. I wanted to see a couple things. I wanted to see Paul Skeens pitch, the Pirates. I wanted to see first couple batters for the American League against Paul Skeens. Of course, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge was batting cleanup. I wanted to see what they did. Soto walked, and then Judge came up and first pitch grounded out. Skeens came out of there with a perfect inning. Came up there zeros. Just that walk was the only thing he gave up. And Shohei Ohtani. I left the All-Star game on my phone, and I was doing other stuff. I heard Shohei Ohtani come up, so I walked over and wanted to check that out. And he himself I think it was a 2-run home run or whatever it was, 2 or 3-run home run. But anyway, Ohtani, he homered. That was in the third inning. There's a 3-run home run scoring Jurickson Profar and Ketel Marte. Juan Soto doubled the center, scoring Quan and Simeon. That made it 3-2. Fry singled to left, and that scored Soto. That tied up at 3. And then Duran homered to right. 2-run shot, making a 5-3. That was in the 5th inning, and that's all you got there. I'm not even sure who the MVP was. It's probably Duran. Not really sure. Usually they have an All-Star Game MVP. But Pete Alonso was 0 for 1. He did strike out swinging. So there you go. You can pile on with that if you'd like. Look at all the different pitchers used. There's a ton of pitchers used. The pitcher that threw the most, Logan Webb, threw 31 pitches. So I'd be concerned if I was Logan Webb's team. But for the most part, clean game, 5-3. It wasn't something crazy like if you watch the NBA All-Star game, usually you end up with a score of 200 to 175 or something like that. But it is normal baseball game, 5-3. Which kind of sucks. You watch an All-Star game, you want to see fireworks. You did get a couple home runs, but nobody goes to the All-Star game wanting to watch a baseball game. If that makes any sense. All right, so moving on from the All-Star game. That's enough All-Star talk. Let's move on to the second half here. Talk a little bit of NL East. The way it sits currently, the Mets are still pretty far back in the NL East. I really don't expect them to catch anybody in the NL East or to even have a shot at it. So you have the Phillies sitting up top at 62 and 34. They have a run differential plus 110, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. The Braves 53 and 42, 8.5 games back, plus 65 in the run differential. Mets at 49 and 46, 3 games over 500, 12.5 back, which took a lot of work to get 12.5 back. They were much further. I think that the most might have been 18.5, but I could be wrong with that. Plus 13 run differential and 7 and 3 in their last 10. Then you have Washington 44 and 53, 18.5 back, and Miami 33 and 63, 29 games back in the NL East. So I said this a bunch of times that the NL East belongs to the Phillies. I don't see the Braves catching the Phillies. 8.5 games, a lot to make up. I know we've seen the Braves do some crazy stuff before, making the 10 games up over the Mets, 10, 10.5, whatever it was. But that was all the way. That was a June 1st thing, not an August 1st thing. So there's no way. I don't see the Braves catching the Phillies. So the Phillies, they'll have the NL East. It's going to come down to a wild card. And that race is going to be a lot of fun. There's quite a few teams that are still in it. And I like our chances with that. So the Braves, no shot of catching the Phillies. Phillies, congratulations. The NL East is yours. And I've mentioned this a bunch of times. I still think this way. I feel like the Phillies this year are the 2022 Mets. They're going to have a great season. They're going to finish on a little bit of a low. They're going to go into the playoffs cold, and they're going to get knocked off early on. So I can't say a first round because I believe, like I said, I believe the Phillies will win the East, which gives they'll have the best record, I think, in the league still, and we'll probably give them a first round bye. I think the top two seeds, top two best records in each league, I think they get a first round bye if I remember correctly, and that third team has to play. And I don't think they'll finish. They'll definitely finish in the top two in the National League, the Phillies. So I expect them to have a bye, but I don't think they're going to win a series. It's just a feeling, it's a solid team. The Phillies have a great lineup, good pitching staff. The bullpen has pitched well, but just takes a cold spell. Is all it takes. I mean, you can say the same thing about the Mets in 2022. They played well all season. They hit a cold spell where they played 500 ball the rest of the way out from basically July on, and that's how the Braves caught them. The Mets finished tied with the Braves. Braves had the tiebreaker, and the Mets play the Padres there in the first round. Instead of getting a bye. I think the Braves. I could be wrong. I believe the Braves had a bye, and then the next series, I think the Phillies knocked the Braves off, if I remember correctly. And I said I feel like the Mets could be this year's Phillies from 2022. 2022 Phillies played pretty much around 500 ball most of the season. Early on, really, really bad. The Mets early on, really, really bad. We all remember May. And then played well second half of the season. And then near the end of the season, heated up enough where they're able to sneak in through the wild card, and they just caught fire. And they had some unexpected heroes. Alec Boehm, being one of them. I believe I don't know if Bryson Stott was one of them or Brandon Marsh. Just out of nowhere, guys contributing and doing a solid job, and they're pitching. Of course, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola were lights out. And I could see that with the Mets. I just don't know if they have the pitching for it, but they definitely do have the lineup for it. And we'll wait and see. That's just the feeling I get. That's just the feeling that I get. It just feels like 2022 in repeat, and we'll have to wait and see. So let's take a look at the wild card, where the Mets actually do have a chance. The East, they don't have a chance. The wild card, they do have a chance. So let's take a look at that. The way that race sits right now, you have the Braves sitting at a +4. The Cardinals 50-46 at a +0.5 a game. The Mets 49-46, sitting a half game back behind the Cardinals. The Mets are in that final wild card spot, and they are 1 game up on Arizona, who's 49-48. San Diego 50-49, 1 game back. Pittsburgh 48-48, 1.5 games back. San Francisco 47-53 games back. Cincinnati 47-53 games back. Chicago 47-51, 3.5 back. And finally, Washington sitting 6 games back at 44-53. Washington's a bad week away from being out of it totally, I think. So we'll see what happens there. Washington's been surprising, just to even be in that race right now. I don't think anybody expected them to be in it. You would have thought Miami before Washington, but Miami's been really, really bad. And Washington's had some surprises, some young guys playing well, and the pitching staff hasn't been pitching so bad. All of them anyway. A few of the guys pitched well, have been pitching well, and a couple of the guys pitching right where you thought they'd be pitching. Arizona, last year's darlings, they came in through the wild card and made it all the way to the World Series. They're lingering there. San Diego with their roster, even though they traded Soto away in the offseason and stuff like that. They're still lingering there. They lost their Cy Young pitcher. He's in San Francisco now. I believe it's San Francisco. But they're there. They're there lingering. They have a real shot. Pittsburgh, a lot of young talent there. A lot of young, exciting talent. I don't count them out. San Francisco, they have an all right roster. They're underperforming a little bit right now. I don't expect a whole lot out of them, to be honest with you. Cincinnati, another young, exciting roster, just like the Pirates. Chicago Cubs, they're underperforming pretty big right now. They have a pretty good roster as well. So a lot of these teams are just a move or two away from either being real contenders or just dropping out. I wouldn't be totally shocked if San Francisco sold at the All-Star break and just dropped out of it. Try to build up for next season. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago was a big buyer at the trade deadline. I know that's one team that's been linked to Pete Alonso for the longest time. I don't see the Mets trading Pete Alonso away, especially where they're currently standing right now. He's a pretty important part of their offense. Depends on what you get back for him, but still, that wouldn't give the rest of your guys on your roster a vote of confidence. That would say, hey, we're just giving in, even though we're, as of right now, in the wild card. If you were to trade Pete Alonso away, it kind of just it wouldn't be a good look. You'd have to figure out how the rest of the locker room would react to that. So that's where we're looking wild card race. My thoughts are, I think the Braves they'll be a wild card team, and they'll probably be the number 1 wild card team. And even though all these teams are pretty close, the Mets only 4 games back of the Braves. That's a series. They play the Braves a bunch here yet in the second half of the season. They stay close enough. That's a series away from overtaking the Braves. You just never know. The Cardinals, they're playing like they should be. Yeah, they do. They have a lot of good players on that team, but I feel like the Cardinals are going to drop off, and I feel like I feel like San Diego. I feel like San Diego or Pittsburgh are gonna climb up. Pittsburgh's really they're the hot topic, mostly because of Paul Skeens. But of course, they have some really good young talent on that team. Like a Brian Reynolds and stuff like that, and another young kid. I can't think of what his name is. Reminds you a lot of Ellie De La Cruz. He's like a poor man's Ellie De La Cruz. I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but he's really good as well. And it's just the rest of that pitching staff. The Mets played the Pirates a bunch over the last couple of weeks here, and there's a couple pitchers in that pitching staff that are pitching really well. So it wouldn't be totally shocking to see the Pirates, in that top three, or staying close to that top three the rest of the way. I feel like Arizona. I feel like they're going to drop back, kind of like your World Series hangover kind of thing. I do think that the Cubs are going to rise up. I think the Cubs are going to be in it for the most part for the rest of the season. But I don't see Cincinnati, San Francisco, and Arizona. I can see those three teams dropping off in the next month, and maybe being sellers at the trade deadline to kind of revamp or reboot for next season. So we'll see what happens. And speaking of second halves, let's talk Mets first half. So I feel like the Mets did a lot of really good things. They did a lot of bad things as well early on. Starting off 0-5, I think it was there in April or March into April, and then they went on that nice run there. I think they 15. Was it 15-5 or something like that? They had a nice run there in April, getting over 500, looking good, feeling good. And then it went to shit in May. May was really, really bad. And the one good thing was that it was May. You don't win a season, you don't lose a season in May. Now, June, July, all right. We've seen that. We've seen that last year. The Mets lost the season in June. An absolutely terrible June. Knocked them out. Zero confidence. I started trading guys away then. And June was really, really bad for the Mets last year. So this year it was May. And June was really good for the Mets this year. June, since the Grimace, thing, and Jose Iglesias, his OMG, and when he released his single, I'm not sure what his stage name is. I can't remember what it was. It's not Jose Iglesias, but he does have a stage name. And since releasing that, what the hell was his name? Julio. I can't think of his name. There, Lopez, Juan Lopez. Since I think it's Juan Lopez. It's Lopez, the relief pitcher, since he threw his glove over the netting. That was near the end of May against the Dodgers, and it was just such a bad month. Nobody had a good month in May. Top to bottom, it was just bad. Starting pitching was bad. Bullpen was bad. There was no offense to speak of. And they just, after that glove tossing incident, players only meeting, I think they came back out and the Mets lost the next game the next day. Then after that, it was totally different team. Totally different team. You hear a couple different stories about it. I've talked about it on here before as to what might have been said and whatnot. But it was a totally different team. And offensively, woke up, started hitting the ball. And that's the one thing where that players only meeting, you heard one of the rumblings was JD Martinez. I believe it was JD Martinez saying that they should do something where they talk about it. They every day before every game, they talk about their approach going into that game. With the starting pitcher, what are they looking to do? And then holding each other accountable. Hey, why didn't you Why were you chasing that slider? He throws a slider 0-2 out of the zone. Why did you chase it? Holding each other accountable, which is great. Nobody wants to be held accountable. Nobody does. But when you're held accountable, it makes you more aware of what you're doing and what you're not doing. You're like, shit, I don't want to let this guy down, or they know that I'm looking to do this at the plate today. If I don't do it, they're gonna want to know why. Why did I chase that pitch, or why did I not swing at the 0-1 pitch? Knowing it's probably going to be a fastball down the middle, or it's going to be a changeup or whatever. Why? And it's good. Accountability is good. The starting pitching has been I think fantastic. For the most part. Sean Manaea, he's looked really well. I think his last outing was garbage, but he had a stretch of I think 4 or 5 starts where he looked really, really good. I mean, he's nothing where I thought he was gonna. I had him, I said DFA the guy. That's my big thing now. I hear that a lot on a lot of their podcasts. So they should DFA this guy. So I'm on a DFA. Like, oh, just hand out DFAs. Designate for assignment. This guy's throwing. Whatever. I'm like Oprah here with DFAs. Whenever somebody has a bad game, DFA. Bring this guy up. That seems to be the popular thing. So that's why I hopped on that bandwagon. But anyway. One, because it's funny. I get a kick out of it. It's given up right away. This guy has had 2 bad starts. Let's get rid of him. But anyway, but Sean Manaea, he's looked really good. He's looked good. Let's take a look at his numbers. Let me pull them up here real quick. Stats. Pitching. I'll walk you through what I'm doing here. Sean Manaea, 6-3 record. Not bad. 3.46 ERA. By that, 100 times out of 100. Coming into the season, last year, I think his ERA was up in the high 4s, maybe low 5s, somewhere around there. Fantastic. Last time out, his last time out, he pitched well. 7 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs. Did give up a couple home runs, but the Mets won that game, 7-6. The Mets won his last 4 starts. He had 9 strikeouts last game. So just looking at what he's been giving us innings-wise, which has been huge because our bullpen is so overused because our starting pitchers do not go deep into the games. Haven't been until recently. Against Colorado, 7 innings pitched. Against Pittsburgh, 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Against Washington, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts. Against the Yankees, 5 innings pitched. And against the Rangers, which was a loss, 5 2/3. So his last 3 starts over 6 innings, each of them quality starts. But even you look at it before that, 5 innings, 5 2/3, 5 innings, 3 2/3, 5 2/3, 5, 6, 6, 5. A lot of 5s. A lot of 5s. He doesn't go deep. Wasn't going deep, but his last few starts out, starting to give us some innings, starting to become a lot more efficient of a pitcher, keeping the walks down, keeping his pitch count down. And, a lot of that is accredited to Francisco Alvarez. Whenever he's out there pitching, it appears that Alvarez is his catcher. So we'll take that. Luis Severino, he's been, basically our ace of the season, of the pitching staff. I'm trying to think of the word there. For all intents and purposes, he's been the ace so far. He's 6-3, a 3.78 ERA, 81 strikeouts, a 1.19 WHIP. But he's been steady pretty much the whole season. He's been even keel. He's given us a lot of innings so far. He usually pitches fairly deep into the games. He's pitched some clunkers. He's pitched some really good games. Looking the last couple times out, the Mets are 3-2 in his last 5 games that he has started. Last game out, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. That was a win for the Mets. Then before that was a 14-2 loss to the Pirates. He still went 6 innings, 7 earned runs. He was pitching well, I think, in that game, if I remember correctly, and it just fell flat on his face for whatever reason. Did give up a couple home runs. Then there was a loss to the Astros. That's an extra innings loss. But he went 7 innings, 4 earned runs. 6 innings to the Cubs, no runs. 6 1/3 innings to the Rangers, 6 earned runs. So it's up and down for him. But again, he's been going deep, and he's had stretches, in the season where he's been lights out. So there was back-to-back starts in June. 6 innings pitched against Miami, only 1 earned run. 8 innings against Washington, 1 earned run. Even May was kind of rough. He did have that start against the Giants where he went 7 innings, gave up 1 run. But yeah, he's given us a lot of innings, which has been saving the bullpen. And for the longest time, he was the only guy going past the fifth inning. So we'll take it. Jose Quintana, I think that's one guy I could see the Mets dumping. Is Jose Quintana. He's pitched better as of late. His last start out wasn't all that great. But the couple starts before that, he's looked really well. He's looked really good. But I just don't feel it. I just feeling like he could be on his way out. Either as like a trade bait, maybe like trade for a bullpen arm or something like that. I don't see us getting any kind of prospect. But I could see us getting a bullpen arm with somebody that's like an ERA in the 4s or 5s. Kind of throw in there and see what we can get out of that guy. But Jose Quintana sitting at 4-6, a 4.13 ERA. It was much, much higher. Like I said, he was his last couple of times out. His last time out wasn't all that great, but the couple before that was pretty good. Last time out, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, gave up 4 home runs against the Rockies. 3 of those home runs was to the one lad. I can't think of his name. Was it Taglio or I don't remember who it was. Before that, 7 innings, no runs. 7 innings, no runs in back-to-back games. That was against Washington. Both games against Washington. Houston, 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. And I felt like he got yanked in that game pretty quick. I felt like it was a little bit early. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then against the Cubs, he went 6 1/3, no earned runs. So three of his last 5 starts, he's given up no earned runs. So he's been much, much better. But then you see that last game against the Rockies, 5 2/3, 5 earned runs. Before those are home runs. That kind of reminds you, okay, this is what he really is. So I'm not sold on Quintana. I could see the Mets trading Quintana away. That's just my thought on it. I got a couple comments here. Hey, Yuki Matsui checking in. What's up, Yuki? He said the Mets MVP is JD Martinez. I never seen this team hit like this. I wouldn't dump anyone except Jake Diekman. Jake Diekman, yeah. And Adam Ottavino, that's another one. Can the Mets catch the Phillies for the NL East side? No, I don't think anybody can catch the Phillies. So I'll answer your questions in reverse order here. I don't think anybody's going to catch the Phillies. I wouldn't be too shocked if the Braves got close to the Phillies, within 3 games by the end of the season. But I don't think they'll catch the Phillies. I don't think the Mets will catch the Phillies. I do think the Mets have a chance to catch the Braves, though, for that one spot in the wild card. You see the wild card standing sitting right there right now. The Mets are 4 games back of the Braves, as I did a wild card rundown before. And I do think there's a chance the Mets could catch the Braves if they stay on course. If they continue hitting the way they've been hitting, June and so far into July here, I do think there's a chance that they can catch the Braves. The Mets starting pitching has been much better. Bullpen, still trying to figure it out. That brings me to this right here. I wouldn't dump anyone except Diekman or Ottavino. I would absolutely dump Diekman and Ottavino, which I like Ottavino, but his time is gone. His time has passed. And there's just, I don't know. He looks lost. He goes out there, gives up a hit or a walk, and then gives up a big home run. And just like the expression on his face is like he's trying to find it. It's nowhere near it. He doesn't know what it is anymore. Jake Diekman, yeah, he should be gone. I'm surprised he still has a roster spot, to be honest with you. I think that's just a lack of options to be, he's a lefty. I don't know how many lefties we have in the bullpen. I know it's not many. I think 2. Him and who is it? Let me take a look here real quick. No. Diekman. Is Nunez a lefty? No, he's a righty. So yeah, maybe Diekman's the only one, the only lefty right now. Garrett's a righty. But anyway, that could be just the only reason why he's still there. To be honest, it's because he's a lefty. So I don't know what their plans are with him. I think, is Budo a lefty? No, he's a righty as well. They're all freaking righties. But yeah, I'd seriously look at possibly Quintana, and it's that's the only other one I would look at trading away. I wouldn't just like dump him. I'd try to get something back for him. If I'm not going to get anything back for Quintana, I just roll with him. You look at the Mets pitching: Severino, Minaya, Peterson, Christian Scott. All right, so that's what Severino, Minaya, Peterson, Scott. That's 4. You're gonna have Senga back soon, so that's 5. So you want to go 6-man rotation with Senga, pretty much. And also Christian Scott to kind of keep his innings down, his pitch count down and stuff like that as the season goes on. So Quintana sits there in that starter role as your 6th starter. But I think the Mets could do better with that, either with a young guy down in the system, or looking elsewhere. I mean, I don't know who or what. I don't know who's close. I don't know if Tidwell's close. I don't know what's going on with Vassell. I don't hear his name anymore. I do know that the Mets did get Joey Lucchesi back. Would Joey Lucchesi be an upgrade over Jose Quintana? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I like Joey Lucchesi. I was really bummed when the Mets DFA'd him to make room for Budo. I think it was when they called Budo up into the bullpen. They had to make who was it? It wasn't Budo. Crap, I don't remember who it was. Diaz came off of the suspension. Dednell Nunez. But anyway, they had to make room on the 40-man roster. That's what I'm trying to say. And in order to do that, they had to make a tough decision. And DFA'd Lucchesi. Lucchesi did not get claimed on waivers. So he was optioned by the Mets to AAA, and that's where he's at right now, I believe. If I read that article correctly, so that he is back in the system. And that's what it was. Yes, thank you. For Maton, when the Mets trade for Phil Maton, that's what it was. Okay. Like I knew there was something I'm like, not like all these moves seem normal. I don't know why. But okay, it was for Phil Maton. Because when Diaz served the suspension, he didn't lose that roster spot was dead. That was still Diaz's roster spot. They couldn't use it for anything unless it was injury. But anyway, but yeah, I think the Mets could get a bullpen arm for Quintana that could potentially help. It depends on who it is, what it is. I mean, you do hear about Fujinami pitching well down in the minor leagues. I'm not sure where he's at now. I know he was moving up through the system with some rehab spots, so I don't know if he's up to AAA or not. But he was doing well. Senga's been pitching well, doing with his rehab spots. There's from a couple other podcasters I've been hearing that near the end of July, maybe that series against the Braves, we could expect Senga back. We'll see. But yeah, I think I feel like they could do better than Quintana as a number 5 or number 6 starter. But who, I don't know. Tyler McGill, I don't think we see him back in the starting rotation. I would be surprised if we do see Tyler McGill in the bullpen. He's done bullpen work before, and so I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw him in the bullpen. I don't know who else. Dedniel Nunez has been awesome in the bullpen when they called him up. What a great job by Stearns to find that guy. That's again talking first half of the season. The Mets kind of trying to find their way, and you kind of see where a lot of the moves David Stearns made, what moves he made in the offseason, you kind of started seeing kind of how they fit or why he made some of those moves and why he decided to sign 50,000 relief pitchers, bullpen guys, why he went with, Severino, Minaya, guys like that, because, I talked about it when they signed Severino, especially when they signed Severino. So the guy has a proven track record of being a really good pitcher. He just had a bad season last year. So if you can recapture anything close to what he was before, you're going to have a good pitcher. And so far, he's been decent. He's been decent to good. If we're being fair with it, he hasn't been great. I'm not going to go out there and say he's been great. He's the best thing since whatever. But he's been decent to good, Severino. Everything that last year he was so bad that the Yankees would have loved if he's pitching the way he's pitching this year. But last year it was just a bad season. Same thing for Minaya. He's just had a stretch. I think it was maybe the last 2 seasons, or it's definitely last season where he just didn't look good, and so he it's a cheap cheap starter. While we still have money on the books for Verlander and Scherzer, the dickhead Scherzer, as I like to call him. Such an angry fella he is. But anyway, those guys, performed, above what they have in the, last season. So, and they both came at a decent price. They weren't overly expensive. So you kind of understood. Now you see it, shaping out. You take a chance on them. It's worked out so far, and you give them a nice round of applause for that. Some good signings there. Adrian Hauser, starting pitcher, not so much. Relief pitcher, he had a good stretch. Now his last couple times out, he's gotten rocked. So we'll see where we're going with that. Calling up Christian Scott, give them credit there. It was a good move so far. He's pitched. He hasn't pitched great, but he's pitched well for a rookie. He hasn't pitched terrible. Got to get him, some offense and get him that win. There was the one start where I think they left him in like one batter too much, and he ended up giving up a big home run. And there was also another start where I feel like they could have left him in a little bit longer. Bullpen gives it up, and that's it. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you deal with the young guys with their arms still being stretched out and stuff through the innings, through long seasons and stuff. Re-signing Ottavino, probably not a good deal. Diekman, it's not looking like a good deal. But something worked out. Like I said, Dedniel Nunez, that's worked out pretty well, including with the starting pitchers and stuff. So yeah, David Stearns. If I had to give him like a first half grade, I would say he's a solid B. Jose Iglesias, calling him up, getting Luis Torrens from the Yankees for some cash, $50 or something like that. It was, I don't know. It's great moves there. Torrens, basically kicked Nito and Narvaez out the door. and he's a real backup catcher. He's a very good defensive catcher, a good arm. And whenever he's been in the lineup, he's hit. He's come up with a big hit, and he's become reliable. Jose Iglesias is like a spark plug. I'm not sure why Jeff McNeil gets any starts at second base. It should be all Jose Iglesias, but the dude, he's been outstanding. Since being called up. And again, I say spark plug not just for the lineup, but for the whole team. It seems like the whole team rallies around him. And let's look his stat line up here real quick. I got a couple more comments. Yuki says, "What's your prediction for the Mets 2024 season?" Yuki says 91 wins. 91-71. I said at the beginning of the season, I stick with what I said at the beginning of the season. I said I see them winning between 82 and 85 games. I feel more comfortable with the 85 now than I would have back in May. So I could see 85 plus now. I could see 85 to 90, but I said 82 to 85 beginning of the season, so I'll stick there. And I do think there'll be a wild card team, definitely in wild card contention for the rest of the season. Yeah, I think they'll get a wild card spot. His honorable mention for MVP is Francisco Alvarez. Mets are unstoppable since Alvy's hands got healed. Yes, 100%. You said about JD Martinez. I wanted to go back to that. You mentioned about JD Martinez being the MVP the first half so far. And I said this, Yuki on a show a couple weeks ago. That after the season, if the Mets don't re-sign JD Martinez, at least try to bring his ass back as the hitting coach. I mean, because he's been trivia. Heard a couple different guys talk about it. Iglesias is one of them. When JD was up ramping up for the season, because he was a late signee, he didn't have spring training. He was down there in AAA, and Jose Iglesias was just a utility man. And he wanted to be more. He wanted to hit, and so he went to JD, and he said, "What can I do?" And JD gave him some tips, some pointers, some drills and stuff like that to do, and the whole thing with weighted bats and stuff. And Jose Iglesias said he's changed his career. So I mean, Pete Alonso's talked about it, saying that he's just a hitting guru. And JD's hit a little bit of a slump in his season so far right now, leading into the All-Star break. But a couple factors into that, the whole shoe thing with Adidas and his ankles and stuff. I don't know the whole saga with that. But yeah, you can't argue against JD being the MVP for a couple different reasons. Not only for his performance, leading up, not counting the last 2 weeks or so of the season here before the All-Star break, he's been outstanding. A bunch of big hits, some pop, some added pop there in the middle of the lineup. He's hitting fifth, I believe. He's been hitting behind Pete. So, but then take it back to this with Francisco Alvarez. When he's in the lineup, the Mets win. I'm not sure what the record is anymore, but that one point is like the Mets were 25-3 or something like that when he started games. That's awesome. That's on the Grimace level right there, man. He's just he's a force behind the dish. He's a very good defensive catcher, which that they didn't see coming. And I talked about in length, last season, ever since he's been up. Basically, his framing is has to be near the top of the league. Of stealing strikes and stuff. Arm, has a good arm. It's the throwouts haven't been there yet, and you count that a lot towards the pitching. The starting pitchers, their move to home and holding runners on. It's a whole art, and it appears to be a lost art. For a lot of guys. So. But Alvarez, and offensively, he's been great. He's been very good since coming back since his injury, since that disgusting thumb injury. Just watching that in slow motion when that happened, and rounding first base and putting his hand going down to the dirt to hold himself up, and watching that thumb flex back was disgusting. Disgusting. So yeah, but looking at Jose Iglesias, he's hitting 380, 3 home runs, 16 RBIs, the 999 OPS. Outstanding. So I don't know how many at bats he's had this year so far. He's played in 80 games. Out of the 80, out of the what are we at? What did I say? At 95 games, 275 at bats. So yeah, so it's not like he's only hitting. Well, that's the season average. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's played in 79 games. Or no, what the hell? I'm way off with this. He's hitting 30 games, 79 at bats. So yeah, so it is a small sample size. But when he's in there, he hits. Hitting 380, 417 on base, 582 slug. What the hell? Unbelievable. Other than McNeil, name another disappointed hitter on the Mets in 2024. Disappointing hitter on the Mets. I don't know. That's a great question, Yuki. I mean, obviously, you could always go back to Brett Beatty, but he's been down in AAA for so long now. You'd hate to kind of pile on there. Again, I love Pete Alonso. I'm proud that Pete Alonso was an all-star. I was kind of bummed the way his home run derby went. Yuki, if you didn't see the beginning of the show, I was on a little bit of a rant there about Mets fans being pissed off that and podcasters, like a couple podcasters hearing that they're pissed that Pete Alonso was an all-star over Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. I get it. I 100% get it. But instead of just being happy that you have a representative from your team there, Pete Alonso, it's not like he had a terrible first half, power-wise, RBI-wise, down a little bit for him. But still, to be just to complain and bitch and moan about Lindor deserves it over Pete, Nimmo deserves it over Pete. All right, well, how about just say, hey, Pete had a decent first half. Second half, hopefully he heats up, gets those power numbers up. Hitting 240 is not terrible for Pete, power hitter and stuff. But no, instead he just, piss all over the guy. I don't know. But anyway, Pete's power has been a disappointment so far. But I do think, I do feel like Pete is his second half power is usually better than his first half power. So I do expect him to hit 40 home runs this year, 100 RBI, even though it's less than half a season to go, and he's not on pace for those numbers at all. But I still expect that. He's going to get hot. He's going to start hitting stuff. He's going to start hitting home runs in bunches like he normally does, and I think he's going to have a great second half of the season here. Should MLB allow metal bats in the All-Star game? No. No, they shouldn't allow metal bats at all. These guys are hitting a ball 111 mile an hour with the wooden bats. With the metal bats, Jesus Christ, you're going to kill somebody. Add an extra 10 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour to that. That's a lot. And no, I don't think they should allow metal. Now, if they wanted to allow like metal bats for the home run derby, okay, I can kind of see that. Nobody's really in danger. The people in the outfield, maybe some people in the stands, but you're at the home run derby. You're waiting for balls to come out to you out there in the behind the wall and stuff. So beyond the wall. So you're paying attention. You're waiting for the ball to come. So yeah. So I aluminum bats, metal bats, whatever you want to call it, composite. I'm cool with that in the home run derby. In the actual game itself, where you have some of these guys, the pitcher's only 60 some feet away. The guys on the corners are only 90, some less than 90 feet away. Sometimes maybe more than 90. They'll back up to the edge of the grass. So it's maybe 100 feet away or so. That's too close for me. I think the ball coming off 125 mile an hour. That's too close. I don't think they should allow metal bats. in any kind of Major League Baseball. So it would be exciting to see, though. I'll tell you that. Especially for the home run derby, just hearing that ping and just guys just teeing off. I do watch TikTok clips, a lot of guys testing out bats, with softballs and with baseballs, and just the distance that these guys get on with some of these bats. And they're not professionals either. These are just ham and eggers out there, doing this. I couldn't imagine what some of these monsters would do within in major leagues. So yeah, so disappointing hitters. Back to that again. Tyrone Taylor again. He's kind of like a fill-in player. There hasn't been a whole lot of offense there, but he kind of got him for his defense, and he's had a few errors this year. So it's been a letdown as the first errors of his career. So that's been a bit of a bummer. Yeah, I don't know. That easily the most disappointing has been Jeff McNeil by far. And I feel like his last few games that he's been in, he's had some decent at bats. I almost feel like he's going to break out of it. But that's another guy where I would look to possibly dump. I'd look to see if there's a market out there for Jeff McNeil, see if anybody has any interest in what you can get for him, and just take it. Get out of that contract, and even if you have to eat some of it, in order for a team to take him, like eat half of it or whatever, I'd be fine with that. It's been so bad for Jeff McNeil, and it might be good for McNeil too, just to get out of New York and get away from a change of scenery type thing. But yeah, it's been bad for McNeil. There's no way to beat around the bush for that with that one. Mark Vientos has been really good, much better than I think a lot of people have thought he was going to be. And I feel like the path that he had to take to get where he's at now, I think has helped him in so many different ways. Like, it wasn't just given to him. He wasn't a top 20 MLB prospect like Beatty was. He wasn't, the number one prospect in the Mets farm system like Beatty was. And he's had to work. I feel like he's had to work harder for everything that he's gotten so far than what Brett Beatty has. And I feel like that's helped him. That's made him mentally tougher for when he does hit those stretches where he's not hitting well, but also keeps him on an even keel when he is hitting well. He doesn't get overly high about it, which could be bad. And he's played okay defense. He hasn't been great by any stretch of the imagination. There's some stuff that he does that I think the guys on SNY break down really, really well. Just simple footwork type stuff, or instead of attacking a ball, backing up on a ball in the field. But then there's times that he makes some just beautiful stops, and his arm is just superb. He has a terrific arm from third base. So I mean, you look at the splits right now. So far, Vientos has played in 51 games, and Beatty was at 50. 182 at bats for Vientos, 153 for Beatty. And just looking at their comparables, Vientos has 53 hits, the Beatty's 35. 11 doubles for Vientos, 3 for Beatty. And that's one of the things that really killed you with Beatty was his hits were singles. That's all you were getting out of him, a couple home runs and just singles. 12 home runs for Vientos. Beatty had 4. No power, no pop. 33 RBI for Vientos, 16 for Beatty, doubled them up. 100 total bases to Beatty's 50, doubled them up. 51 games for Vientos and 50 for Beatty. So, basically, even. Both walked 16 times. Vientos has struck out more, but he has more at bats. 291 average for Vientos, 229 for Beatty when he was up, 347 on base for Vientos, 306 for Beatty. The slug, 549 for Mark Vientos and 327 for Brett Beatty, 896 OPS and a 633. So, yeah, so Mark Vientos, he's been very, very good so far at third base. I don't want to say a surprise or anything like that, but it's a pleasant surprise. We'll say I'll just say it anyway. It was a pleasant surprise. It was good to see him being called up and performing the way he has. Because if he comes up and performs like shit, and you call up Beatty again, and you're stuck. You're just spinning your wheel in mud and trying to figure out how the hell do I get out of this? What do I do now? Now you'd have Jose Iglesias the third and Jeff McNeil at second, and you'd have Mark Vientos and Brett Beatty down in AAA again. So I think we're in a much better place with Vientos up and Beatty down. Eventually, do we see Beatty back up? That's a possibility as a bench bat. I'm not sure. I know when he was sent down, he was hot down in AAA when he was first sent down. I don't know where he's kind of at now. I haven't heard a whole lot about him recently, so I don't know if he's still playing well, hitting well. But I do think if he hits well down in AAA, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him back up again, but just as a bench guy. And maybe occasionally a little bit of third base, him at third, maybe Ventos at first, and Pete at DH to give JD a rest or whatever kind of scenario you want to throw out there. Starling Marte been hurt. He's been on the IL for a little while now. I don't know when he's going to be back. I don't know where you go with that. He's had up and down first half. There's points where he's hit really, really good, and there's some spots where he just looked like trash. He looked like last year, last year. But then you don't know what the chalk up to injury. You don't know. Okay, he's been struggling because of his knee or his hip or whatever it is. So it's hard to tell with him. I really like Harrison Bader. I'm a big fan of Harrison Bader. Doesn't walk a lot though. Doesn't get on base a whole lot. A decent batting average, which a lot of people don't like the batting average stat anymore. I love the batting average stat. He's hitting 273. Like I said, his on base isn't great. 312, 420 slug, 733 OPS. He's had some big hits. I mean, it's he was pushing for more playing time back in, I think it was, I don't know if it was May or when it was, early June, where he had a big hit, and they're talking to him, and he's just, I just need more playing time, or say whatever his quote was, basically saying that he should get the majority of the starts. He should be getting more playing time than he's getting, and I feel like they've given it to him. They've given him the opportunity, and I feel like he's been doing really, really well with it. Sometimes he gets a little overly aggressive on the bases, but I like that. He'll run you out of an inning, but he'll also run you into an inning as well. He'll take that extra base on a ball into the gap that looks like it's only going to be a double. He'll make a triple, or like, oh, that's just a single. He'll leg it out. He'll push a double. Sometimes he'll get nailed. Sometimes he won't. Sometimes he'll start an inning. Sometimes he'll end it. Same thing with stealing bases. He's aggressive. And that puts the pitcher on edge. That puts the catcher on edge. That leads to mistakes, and it's a good thing. And he's played out. I feel like he's played outstanding defenses, which is one of the reasons why we got him. So he's been good. So now looking at the second half of the season here, I got a couple bold predictions here. I do think the Mets catch the Braves. I don't think they'll finish like that, though. I do think the Mets will catch the Braves, and at the end of the season, I still think Atlanta will be the number one wild card team. I think the Mets will be 2, so they'll be right behind Atlanta. 3, I don't know. I'm thinking San Diego or Pittsburgh. I wouldn't be shocked if it was if the Cubs made a run at it. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the Cardinals are going to fall off. I think they're frauds right now. But who knows? Milwaukee hasn't been playing all that great. If St. Louis continues to play well, Milwaukee continues to fall off. Maybe St. Louis goes for that division title. Milwaukee all of a sudden is in the wild card race. Who knows? So that's my one. That's one prediction. I do believe the Mets will get a wild card spot. I think they'll finish second in the wild card, behind the Braves, and I'll make postseason predictions once we get to that point. I do think Pete Alonso will get to 40 home runs. I do think he'll get over 100 RBI. I do think that Francisco Lindor will have 30 home runs. And I think Brandon Nimmo will continue playing the way he's playing now. I think he'll hit closer to 270 by the season's out. Right now he's hitting 248. His home runs will be in the high 20s, 25 to 28, somewhere in there. That's where I think he'll finish up. And I think if you're going to name a team MVP, I think it's going to be between by the end of the season, be between Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Alvarez. And I don't see Francisco Alvarez continue hitting the way he is hitting right now. As the season wears on, it wears on a catcher, and usually that affects their offense. But he's been hitting really, really well. What else? I do think Quintana gets traded. I think Jeff McNeil gets traded. And I don't think it's going to be anything big. I don't think we're going to get any kind of big return. I don't think there's going to be any big name that the Mets are going to go for out there. If they do trade guys away, if they do trade Quintana or McNeil away, I wouldn't be 100% shocked if they just trade them away for prospects. Or mid-range bullpen arms to see what you can get out of it, kind of like what we did in the offseason. And continue to try to mix and match and figure out the bullpen and starting pitching as the season goes on, using the farm system and whatnot. I don't think we see Joey Lucchesi. I think Jose Budo stays in the bullpen for the rest of the season. He's looked really good there. I wouldn't be too surprised if the Mets do something with Adrian Hauser, if they move on from him. Especially if he continues to struggle through July before the trade deadline. I think the trade deadline is August 1st, July 31st or August 1st, something like that. What else? I think Edwin Diaz, I think he's going to have a good second half of the season. I think overall, I think the Mets are going to have a good second half. I really do. Like I said, the early season predictions were before the season started 82 to 85 wins. I said they'll make the wild card. I could see them going 85 to 90, but like I said, I'm going to stick to what I predicted earlier, 82 to 85. But if they continue playing the way they are, I wouldn't be shocked at all if it's 85 to 90, and they're the team to look out for heading into the wild card, into the playoffs. So, all right. So I'm rambling now. So I'm going to move on from that. I'm going to go ahead and do our sponsor read here so I can go to bed. Our boy, Jason Fine, J Fine Law, attorney Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. So back to that real quick. I would be surprised if Carlos Mendoza doesn't get some mention about Manager of the Year. There's some things that I thought he's done well. There's some things that I thought he has not done well. Mixing and matching the lineup, moving guys around in different spots before it feels like he's gotten it right now, where you have Lindor leading off, what is it? It's Lindor, Nimmo. Is it Martinez, Alonso, Alvarez, Vientos? Who was that after that? Bader's been batting 9. Iglesias, McNeil, I think they've been 8. So yeah, so I feel like he's done a great job with that. You know, moving guys around in the batting lineup until it started clicking, and I feel like it's clicking. It's definitely clicking offensively. The one thing I thought he hasn't done well is I feel like he's pulled some of our starters too early. There's been some times where guys are in the 80 pitch range in the 5th inning, and he pulls them. You know, like with 4 and a third innings of credited work. You know, they walk a guy, goes out and pulls them. For me, let's see what he does. You know, again, that's how you give up the 2-run home run or whatever. That's how big innings happen. But also that's how that's how starting pitchers gain confidence too, by going out there. All right, my coach is going to let me in. You throw that next pitch, and all of a sudden it's an inning-ending double play. And you can go out there again for the 6th inning because you're only at like 90 pitches. So I feel like he's pulled some starters early. There's been times where he's given guys too much of a leash. So bullpen wise, not a whole lot you could say. Not a lot of it's his fault. I don't think. I just guys underperforming. You know, like Ottavino, Diekman, guys like that. Then you look at Dedno Nunez, Reed Garrett. It's going to be interesting to see how long Reed Garrett's going to be out. Kind of dodge a bullet with him. He does not have any structural damage to his elbow. It's a nerve issue. So kind of let that rest and figure that out. So hopefully he's not out too long. The whole Edwin Diaz saga, with the sticky stuff, and he was injured and just not looking good. Through May, all those blown saves. You have to figure where would the Mets be if they just get half of those games back. I think he had five blown saves maybe or something like that, and he wasn't the only one blowing saves. They're trying other guys there as well. Ottavino, some blown games, I believe. If they just had half of those back, add 3 more wins to that team, maybe we're a game behind the Braves instead of 4 back. So I mean, it's a little stuff. So they clean that up, and I think the Mets are going to be in good shape. If it's 1 or 2 bullpen arms, and I think the Mets are going to be good to go. And 1 more solid starter. Where that comes from, I don't know. If that's free agency or farm or whatever, we'll have to wait and see. The Mets, before the last thing here real quick, Mets did make a trade. They traded a fella in their farm system there, Ryland Bannon, who I'd started hearing his name coming up about potential, September call up, for bench bat. So far down here in AAA Syracuse, he was hitting 254 with a 392 on base and a 475 slug, which is fantastic. 15 home runs, 57 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 60 walks, which is outstanding. A 17.5% walk rate. He played at second base, third base, shortstop, and left field and right field. So they traded him away to the Twins. And this right up here from, who was it, Empire Sports Media? Is that what it is? Ben Pilillo. I don't know how to say his name. But he was traded to the Twins for not really sure what. I think it was, did it say cash? Yeah, I don't know. It says it's unknown, but is expected to be cash. So this is what it says. What does this mean for the Mets? It says Bannon's trade may come as a shock given how well he's been playing, but it does make sense. This is a log jam in the major leagues at each of the positions. 28-year-old has played this season, and if openings were to occur, others would be more likely to get the call up over Bannon. Trading the Illinois native allows the Mets to get something back for a player who is likely to walk in the offseason, even if it is just cash. In addition, it frees up Bannon's 342 plate appearances through the first half for other players who could make an impact in Flushing soon. So there you have it. All right. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for checking the show out. I appreciate it very much. I got to figure this Twitter thing out. It has me annoyed. I'm going to try to go live tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'm going to try to go live tomorrow morning with Silver and Black Lair. Talk LA Kings. There's a lot of LA King news that I haven't talked LA Kings in quite a few weeks. The same thing with the Raiders, so I got to get back into that. I've been struggling here with the podcasting. It's a lot of fun. I have fun doing this, but on night shift, it's been rough. Yeah, I've been busy and it's been in a bit of a funk with it. So, but I'm back, baby. Here we go. All right, so that's all I have for today. Thank you, everybody, for checking the show out. I appreciate it, and be sure to check me out again. I won't be on next Wednesday. I will be away. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, my daughter has nationals for softball. I will be on vacation in Connecticut, so do not rob my house. I do have big dogs, and I will not feed them, so they will be looking for a meal. So if you come to my house to try to rob me, they will eat you. And the killer cats and the bird. So dogs aren't going to eat the cats and the bird. I mean, the cats are going to eat whoever tries to rob the house and the bird. You know what I'm saying. All right. Thank you for checking the show out. I'll be back the week after. Same bat time, same bat channel. Let's go Mets.